Welcome to the Geek Envy Podcast, episode 45. My name is Matt, and this podcast is about video games, geek culture, and anything else we feel like talking about. Today we have a little bit of something different. Instead of meandering through video games or whatever we normally do, we're going to be talking about music for once.
Music from video games.
Ooh. Yeah.
So different than our normal conversation.
So unique.
So different.
And quirky.
Yeah. So, anyways, I'm joined by Joey and Courtney. Hello, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
I was so excited about music, I forgot to introduce you.
Ugh, I'm offended.
That's okay. What happened to Eric? Where's Eric?
Friend of the show, Eric.
I heard he got stabbed.
Oh.
In the prison yard.
Ooh.
As it does happen.
In the infirmary.
He's in the infirmary?
Yeah, well, that's where you...
Is that what they call, like, the medical area in a prison?
Oh,
Yeah.
I was thinking of, like... Oh, God, what is it called where you put dead bodies in a burning cauldron thing? What is that?
The incinerator. Oh, God. I can't even say it.
The fireplace?
Guys, I swear to God, we're not drunk. We just can't talk.
R.I.P. Eric. It was good knowing you, buddy.
Well, I don't know. Maybe Courtney's drunk. Who knows?
We miss you, Eric. Come back home. I wrote you a letter.
It's a prison. I
had someone smuggle it in.
Through their butthole.
Like, you can get letters in prison without smuggling them.
This was an extra one. I'd already set my allotment.
Well, anyways, Courtney and Joey and I recently had an adventure in the great city of Raleigh.
We slept together.
Yeah, we did.
In the same vicinity.
Airbnb.
The same Airbnb, under the same roof.
It was like a big sleepover. We had pillow fights and everything.
I don't remember that.
And
there
tickle
was an
fights.
Owl.
There was an owl.
But we went to a convention called Galaxycon, which used to be called SuperCon in Raleigh. And it's kind of an amalgamation of a bunch of different conventions. It's mostly, I would say, a comic book convention, but it also had things from anime to video games to wrestling. Random 80s celebrities showed up. Yeah.
Geek people, celebrities, do they call them that too?
Geeky celebrities? I don't know.
No, they're just celebrities. We're geek celebrities. People who are on the Geek Envy podcast. Geek celebrities.
I would not consider...
We're going to need to work on that.
I had a lot of fun, guys. I don't know how y'all felt about this post-con.
Oh, I loved it.
I was glowing for
Me
like
too.
3 days after.
Aw, Joey.
I kind of wondered. I was like, man, they probably all were like, wow, that was terrible.
No, it was really
Matt got an
good.
Airbnb.
I second Joey's notion.
I think you spoiled me on Airbnbs because I don't think I'm going to be able to ever stay in an Airbnb that could top what we stayed in.
That was a really nice Airbnb.
It was nice. It was a basement apartment. It wasn't like anything to worry about.
Yeah, when you say it like that, that makes it sound like
it was very nice.
It was super nice. Like this wasn't a basement apartment. First of all, this was a very fancy home in a well-to-do neighborhood.
It was a very fancy neighborhood.
We and then it had an amazing backyard, and it had
an owl in the backyard, so that was fancy.
Wildlife. It had what are the stringy things called? A hammock.
Oh, you get those stringy things?
Yeah. And there's definitely a step up because it had air conditioning and carpet, which my current home does not have. So.
That's true.
It was very cool.
I think that was the first Airbnb I did, and I think I would do it again.
I would do that one again.
Well, like, browsing Airbnbs, you can pretty much tell the quality. I mean, I've only been to one, so who knows. But, like, it seemed like
yeah,
you
look
could
at
tell
you,
it was, like,
Airbnb
pretty nice
connoisseur.
from the beginning.
Damn, all right.
But like the price we paid for that, like it would have been like triple if we got some hotel rooms downtown. So
yeah, agreed.
Pretty cool.
And the con was there was a lot going on, and I don't think I agree with how they scheduled everything. And I know we only went for one day, and that's probably part of the issue. But even going just one day, like there wasn't enough. The events weren't scheduled enough to cover all the people that were going and wanting to see those main events.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like there were a lot more people this year too, so we kind of got stuck a couple times.
Yep. And then you either had to make choices or you ended up missing something because the line was too crazy.
Like, what did we miss? That
burlesque.
Yeah, that's right. We missed the burlesque show because there were just too many nerds who wanted to see titties.
Yep.
I'm mad about it, but
I was surprised.
We make.
I didn't think it was going to be that bad of a line for it. Wrestling was amazing.
Yes.
I was doubtful. Courtney.
That was like surprisingly a highlight.
I love that I roped you both into watching wrestling.
Like I thought back on that and I was like, super cheesy but kind of cool to see.
That's right. You love watching chicks wrestle. What's not to love about that?
There's so much anger.
They were better than I thought they'd be. Like I thought it would be like super fake and stuff, but they were like doing all the moves and like jumping off the ropes and stuff, and I was like, wow, these people are like acrobats.
They're super athletic.
Yeah.
Like I'm amazed.
That's pretty cool.
I'm actually kind of sad that I forget what group it was because I would like to show them.
You could honestly Google it, Joey.
It's Queens of Combat.
Queens of Combat.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. Show your money to them.
Go.
They were pretty cool.
Go Google them. I think
I do find it kind of weird that like the whole storyline of wrestling is like some petty little thing that escalates into them just like yelling and beating the crap out of each other, like every time.
That's like normal day-to-day life, though, isn't it? Like you guys don't beat the crap out of people normally, or?
And that's their job. Like they gotta pump themselves up somehow.
I guess that's true. They gotta start yelling.
Yeah. What else? Oh, Courtney made us dance.
I got both Joey and Belle and Matt to dance.
Well, barely Matt, but
I got Matt
anyways.
I'm not a dancer, guys. I'm not
you are a dancer.
Everyone's
I'm
a dancer.
I'm a tiny dancer.
No.
Yeah, that was an Elton John joke.
But anyways, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. It was fun visiting the city of what are those trees in Raleigh?
Oaks.
City of Oaks. It was very fun visiting the city of Oaks.
Yeah, Joey's allergies loved that.
Yeah. Recommended. Just take some pills with you.
So what's the next Geek Envy event?
Ooh. Possibly New York Comic-Con, I think.
I think that might be it.
Cora, are you going to follow us up for that?
I mean, I can follow you guys up for it. I don't know if I can get in, but I will sneak in.
We can.
I mean, it's New York. We can probably find a badge.
Somebody will probably be scalping them outside the convention center.
Yeah.
Well, New York Comic Con, possibly, I guess, for all of us, but definitely for at least 3 of you, right?
3.
Yeah, because Eric's a definite. And Joey.
I think Eric's volunteering. And Clint will be there.
And Clint.
Friend of the show.
Friend
Clint.
of the show, Clint.
Hey, Clint, I'm sorry I never talked to you. I just don't know how to talk to you.
Just say, man, those are some cool robots you're building.
Okay.
That's all you gotta do. It's not that hard.
Shout out to Clint from Courtney. Thanks for liking stuff.
That's right. Friend of the show.
That was the con. So we're gonna talk about Geek Envy's top 5 gaming soundtracks today. So we have all entered our favorite gaming contracts, and then we have consolidated those into a list of 5.
We voted on them. It was a serious 2-hour affair where we
some of us aren't friends anymore now because of this.
Right. None of us, I think.
I think Joey's missing an ear. I don't know why.
Ripped it out.
It was Courtney.
It was me. I did it with my teeth.
Oh. But yeah, we've got a list This is Geek Envy's top 5 gaming soundtracks. The definitive list. If we ever put out a book, what would be in the book?
So we need like a drop for each one, like number 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5.
Released for the PS2 in September 2004. A very cool and unique game came out. I think I don't know if you all played it during that era or if you played it after the era. But I'm talking about Katamari Damacy. Did you both play this on PS2?
I played it both games on release. Yes.
Yeah, I played it on PS2, but I never beat it on PlayStation 2. And then when it re-released on the Switch, I played and beat it.
Oh,
yeah.
Man. That'd be cool.
It is on the Switch, isn't it?
It is on the Switch. You need to pick it up, man.
I need to pick that up.
Our number 5 favorite soundtrack of all time is Katamari Damacy. And it's got a pretty amazing soundtrack.
Heck yeah.
And I think the soundtrack for this one doesn't hit you like a standard soundtrack, really. It's kind of it feels like a series. It feels like a weird sampler you'd get from like LL Bean or something.
What?
Well,
you are not selling this soundtrack.
I was trying to think of a place.
Go to the camping store and get this soundtrack.
It's like a sampler from Sephora. All the exotic,
Exactly.
electric colors,
Okay.
and then you've got the
Like in
nudes.
the 90s when you'd get like a CD sampler.
Oh, there you go.
from
Or like a
Fossil
demo
or something.
disc.
From what?
Or a demo disc.
Exactly. It's like a series of related songs that are all in different
Genres.
styles and genres, and it just works.
It does. It flows really well.
It's also got the zaniness of Katamari. It captures it quite well.
And for those who aren't aware, Katamari Damacy is a game where you play as the prince of the cosmos. Your father, the king, has drunkenly destroyed all the stars, so you gotta like roll around on Earth and roll up a bunch of crap. It's kind of I think this is an attack on consumerism, really. But anyways, you roll up a bunch of crap and make new stars, and so each level of the game is you making a specific star, and of course you scale up to where your stars are getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and you got to roll up larger and larger and larger things within a time limit. And the time limit works out really well for the soundtrack because, of course, you've got a set amount of time, and you're always getting a different song in each level. And so you start to associate different songs with different levels of the game. And the soundtrack is just really quirky. It's really good. I think one of the big tracks that stands out is the intro to the game. It's called Katamari Nana.
Na
And,
na 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 na.
Yeah, goes like that. Has some like scat stuff in it too. It's pretty neat.
Scat. Oh yeah, it does have scat in it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know where she was going with that. But
She's like,
Please,
that's
you
what my
can't
dog
laugh.
just did.
You can't laugh at that and go, I don't know what you meant by that.
oh my god. But then then it changes, and later on you get a song like Katamari Mambo, which is like a kind of a cheesy little mambo song that they put on. You've got Katamari on the Rocks, which is kind of like the main theme, which is kind of a straightforward pop song. And then there's a bunch of other stuff. There's a fugue, which is played on organ. There's quieter songs, faster songs, and then you've got Lonely Rolling Star, which is my favorite, which is like this classic Japanese cutesy pop song.
It's all fun though.
It's
all
literally I think it should be number 1 on
It
our
should
list.
be, but it's not.
It's number 5.
It's number 5.
mostly because I was outvoted. But that's fine.
It is a great kid soundtrack for sure.
Oh.
What else?
By the way, the vinyl soundtrack of this is super cool. If you can get your hands on it,
it is. I don't want to brag anymore about how I own it.
No, Joey, just brag. Come on, let's let's make everybody feel like crap about not owning the vinyl of Katamari. It's all right.
I'm okay with that. What is it? What else is it that makes this soundtrack work? Is it just the quirkiness?
It's very unique. It's very quirky. There aren't other video game soundtracks like it.
I mean, it's pretty catchy.
Yeah.
It's well done for what it is. It's not just video game music. It's like, I don't know. It's like a whole experimental album almost.
I like the way the way you're putting that. I also feel like, just going back, like, I think the fact that the game is kind of fast helps the soundtrack too, because there's not a lot of repetition. They don't have to, you're not getting like 9-minute, 11-minute
unless you
songs.
repeat the level over and over again.
Unless you replay the level. Some of the songs do, like Katamari Mambo did annoy me for a while, because
Me
I think
too.
That's one of the levels that is a little bit
Yeah, there's one level towards the end of one of them that you have to like play over and over again. It's really hard to like get to the end.
Yeah, because it's vast and you got to make a big ass star.
It's when you're like rolling
star.
up buildings.
Yeah, and this is in terms of ease of getting your hands on this soundtrack. Like, I find it hard to find this soundtrack. It's not on Apple Music. I haven't checked Spotify. But I feel like it's not as easy to get your hands on as the other stuff in our list. So if you can pick up the game, it's a really good way to get exposed to the soundtrack, and then I don't know, you just are sad later when you can't find it. All right, should we move on? Should we continue to our number 4?
Number 4.
Number 4 is a game that released on PlayStation 2 in September 2002, and then the sequel to this game released on PlayStation 2 in March 2006. The series is Kingdom Hearts. We also do have a recent installation that came out, 3 in the series, technically not the third game completely, but a key title, Kingdom Hearts 3, which came out in 2019.
So are we cheating by doing a series?
How are we cheating by doing... Katamari technically is a series too,
yeah,
I guess.
Like, We Love Katamari is like, I lump that in the same game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But Kingdom Hearts has a super iconic soundtrack. Super notable and iconic to the point that they have an orchestra that tours around the world. And people pay to go see it, so it must be good. It's composed by Yoko Shimura, who I believe does work for Final Fantasy as well. Right? Possibly.
Sure.
Yeah, no, she does. She does it for 15.
I believe you.
Right? Is that 15? Yeah, 15. So, her work is in other games as well, but just notably Kingdom Hearts.
So I gotta be honest, I played most of Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 on mute. Did I miss out?
Yeah, why would you play...
Yeah.
Joey, I don't understand why you would ever play a game on mute. Why do you keep doing this for somebody who likes music? Why do you keep playing games on mute?
I only play games on mute who, I didn't know the soundtrack.
So just to preface this, this podcast, Joey's idea, he was like, oh, we should talk about our favorite gaming soundtracks. And we're like, cool, you play games on mute.
Yeah, Joey, jeez.
Yeah, well, I already had my favorite gaming soundtracks. I just listen to those all the time, on top of other games. I listen to Katamari Damacy on top of Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, okay. I see how it is. Kingdom Hearts has a great
better
soundtrack.
Experience.
And it's interesting
It's got a good soundtrack.
It's got a good soundtrack. And it's interesting to hear different takes on Disney World's soundtracks. I feel like some of the worlds that you go to in Kingdom Hearts, I'm trying to think.
I 100% agree with this, except for freaking Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo.
Well, Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo and the Winnie the Pooh
That game can die a horrible death in a fire.
The Winnie the Pooh, is the same one in every game, I feel. And there's only... I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to kind of hear, what they take as a soundtrack for, like, Tarzan or Alice
the best
Wonderland.
one, I think, is Nightmare Before Christmas.
Nightmare Before Christmas has a baller.
Yeah, the renditions of those songs that they do are really good.
They are. I agree with you. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool and makes Kingdom Hearts kind of stand out in a different way than it would against any other series, just because it has its own takes on Disney classics. So that's kind of neat.
Yeah, that is pretty neat.
Kingdom Hearts is definitely known for having songs by Utada Hikaru. Of course, everybody knows Simple and Clean, which is from Kingdom Hearts 1, Sanctuary from Kingdom Hearts 2, and the recent Utada Hikaru Skrillex combo, Face My Fears. Hey, don't laugh. Take it seriously.
I am.
But I actually liked Face My Fears. It's just bizarre.
Skrillex.
It's just a bizarre combo. No, it was a good song.
It's okay.
All right.
I got some Skrillex songs on my iPhone. I'll be honest.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you mock it all you want. And then you also have the really well-known song Dearly Beloved, which has like a million different versions of Dearly Beloved, because I'm pretty sure it's the opening sequence for every game, and they like have different versions of it for every game, which is like how many games? 6, 7, 8?
There's like 15.
There's too many. So
They've all been remastered.
right. So then there's like a Dearly Beloved for the remaster.
Yeah.
But it's a good song. It's really
They put like a lot of numbers and slashes in the title,
Right.
and they're like, "Oh, it's a remaster."
But it's not a mainline title. You'll figure out the storyline without playing this one. Yeah, and character themes are also really great. I feel like I'm really good at my adjectives tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Really great. Fantastic. Music
There's some
to my
good
ears.
adjectives.
Yeah.
All we can use
Adjective
is good
master.
adjectives. Next time we'll do least favorite soundtracks.
Ooh.
Oh.
Oh. I don't want to think about that. I mean, I do, but I don't.
Yeah.
So anyway, did you guys have anything to add about the soundtracks? I know, Matt, you've kind of been playing the games recently. Like, do you have any top ones?
Yeah, I was really into those Utada Hikaru singles when I was in high school. Like, I went as far as I bought like 6 of her albums.
Dang,
At
boy.
one point.
Whoa.
I was a fanboy in high school. And Kingdom Hearts introduced me to that. So that just kind of goes to show that the music was good. I liked it enough to like explore the artist.
Yeah, that's a good point to bring up. Like, when a game's music can make you expand what you listen to, like, it's good.
Yeah, so like, and I mean, those are songs like if I ever hear them playing anywhere, which, if I'm at a nerd's house, I guess I'll hear them.
Nerd.
Like, I don't know where else.
So
I
never.
Yeah, but I can still sing all the lyrics to them. Like, they all stick in my head.
But can you sing it in Japanese?
Oh, I can.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right.
Flexing.
We got a grade A weeb over here.
I may or may not be lying.
We'll let everybody else decide for themselves on that one.
Okay.
So I guess we'll move on to number 3.
Okay.
Pass the baton to
So,
Matt.
number 3 is the Final Fantasy series, which kind of cliche, we know, but pretty much Nobuo Uematsu is probably one of the greatest composers in all of video games, and he's like a household name when it comes to RPGs and things like that. Our focus is going to be on Final Fantasy 7 through 13, even though the other ones have great soundtracks too. That's kind of what we thought of. I know Final Fantasy 6 is like a big one for people, but for some reason I always think of the other ones.
That wasn't.
I don't know.
Those weren't. Yeah, I mean, this was our era, FF7 through FF13.
Yeah, that's like when we really got into video games. So, but just to preface this, so for each of going through middle school, high school, and then a little bit of college, Final Fantasy 7 through 10, I had every soundtrack imported from Japan for those, all the 4-disc soundtracks. And then I also got the piano collections.
Piano collections.
Those are what I used to study to. So whenever I was studying for a test, it was always Final Fantasy piano music. And sometimes, I get a little misty-eyed, I get a little tear, you remember the time, So they were full of emotion, and they have a very fond place in my heart.
You smart guy.
On top of that, also, Nobuo Uematsu made a band, a kind of metal band called the Black Mages, where he remixed a lot of the main songs in the series and made 3 albums of kind of rock metal versions of the songs, and those were some of my favorite albums as well that I used to listen to on the way to school and stuff like that.
Could you imagine knowing that your own soundtracks are so good that you're going to cover your own soundtracks and remix them? It's wild.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So anyways, some of the things that we enjoyed about these were the battle themes are all pretty iconic in all the games.
Every single fucking one.
Yeah. So you got Man with a Machine Gun, I think, for Final Fantasy VII. Maybe I'm a Lion for Final Fantasy VIII. I forget the name for Final Fantasy IX.
You had one job, man.
But
the battle theme,
they're great. So the battle themes normally they're good at getting you pumped up, and you hear them a lot because you're getting into spontaneous battles as you're walking across the map. So you're hearing these songs over and over, and instead of becoming grating, you're enjoying them. And I think that in and of itself is a feat.
Yeah, I think Nobuo finds the right balance between keeping you pumped up for each battle, because you're playing so many fucking battles in Final Fantasy games, but not getting you tired of the theme, which is impressive. I remember playing through Final Fantasy VII and just letting the battle, just staying in the battle and not choosing an action, and just seeing how far I could get into the song before it looped, just for the hell of it.
I remember that too. I feel like I might be remembering this incorrectly, but were these games one of the games that you could put the PlayStation disc into your CD player and play the soundtrack?
Oh, I forgot there were games that did that.
Because there were a bunch of games that did that, and I feel like I used to do that.
I did not know that at all.
I might be remembering that incorrectly.
No, you're not.
But yeah, you used to be able to just put them in your CD player, and it was just it wasn't the entire soundtrack, but you would play some of them. I don't know. Normally they were 10 to 12 tracks.
Whatever's on that disc.
You could play. No, it wasn't even that. It was normally there were just 10 to 12 tracks written on there that a CD player would play.
Huh. That's bizarre.
So it was kind of cool. But anyways, on top of the battle themes and getting you pumped up for battle, I feel like Uematsu really worked with developers when they were making these games. And so I know a lot of games you play, you hear a nice song in the background, and it's good background music. But the music would go to the cinematics. So for things like the opening in Final Fantasy VII, when you hear the theme song start as the title goes across the screen, and then it kind of starts to get more rhythmic as you see a train come in and things like that. It was definitely very well planned out, I feel like.
Right, I agree. I mean, composing for video games has to be a lot of work, right? Because it's not only cinematic, but it's also gameplay focused. So you have to be good at both to
also,
get it right.
Also, I feel like Uematsu was one of the first composers that I ever heard, or a video game song I ever heard, that wasn't a series of bleeps and bloops, or some cool rock guitar trying to make it sound really cool. It was actual art, I feel like.
Right, and it had each song had a depth to it, instead of just here's 15 seconds of music and we're just gonna loop that for for 3.5 minutes or something.
Yeah, and I feel like he did a really good job at kind of capturing the essence of each game. Like Final Fantasy VII kind of has this kind of melancholiness to it, but still like kind of like a hopeful exploratory aura.
Yeah, it has
I would call it.
It has like a harsh edge that almost, I feel like, puts it into sci-fi, but keeps it like more steampunky, where it's not the digitalness of just straight up sci-fi music. It's like, it's definitely heavier than the fantasy games before it.
Agreed.
And that's really cool. I think that's what kind of makes it stand out.
And then I feel like Final Fantasy VIII had kind of a shift where they kind of tried to make it more like the characters weren't chibi characters; they were kind of human sized, and they kind of tried to make it more sci-fi and less steampunkish, kind of like futuristic-ish, but then still grounded in reality because there's like Earth-like towns and stuff like it.
Yeah, it's Final Fantasy VIII is interesting because there's a sense of futurism combined with like a religiousness, which makes for a really unique combination.
Right. So Uematsu's soundtrack incorporated a lot of kind of like sweeping scores that were punctuated with things like Latin and things like that. I think he did a really good job. Then for Final Fantasy IX, that game was kind of a return to roots for the series, to the old like medieval kind of a whimsical fairy tale type setting, and I think his soundtrack clearly, like, it just gives you that feeling right away.
This is Final Fantasy IX soundtrack is I don't know if I can say any of these are underrated, but I feel like FF9's is probably the more underrated of the group, because it's so classic. Like, I feel like Final Fantasy IX is presented to you like this old drama or like this weird Shakespearean play, and like all the music fits that so well. Like every song that's used has a specific job, and if you haven't played the game, when you play the game, you'll see how it adds so much to that sense. Whereas FF7 and FF8 kind of thematically work as a whole, FF9's tracks are very much different from each other because they're serving different purposes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Like, each town has its own feel, its own theme, and the music caters to that, I feel like. So, his music really, I feel like, makes these games. Like, the games are good in and of themselves, but without his direction on the music, I feel like it would have been a lot different experience.
Yeah, I can't imagine what these games would play like without the soundtracks they have.
I know Final Fantasy X, when that came out, I think it's called To Xanarkand. It's kind of like the overarching piano theme.
Yep.
That's real melancholy and very emotional. It kind of sets the whole tone for the game, as you know, this game might not be a happy story.
Yep.
But you're still interested, and I feel like it did a really good job of that. So, Courtney, do you want to talk about 13 at all? I can't remember 13's music as much.
I just liked a couple of the songs on Final Fantasy 13. Sadly, I don't remember all of them. The only one that really sticks out that I remember off the top of my head was The Promise, which is like the really pretty piano song.
Right.
The really pretty piano song.
Did Uematsu do 13?
Did who? What?
Did Uematsu do 13?
I don't actually think he did do 13.
I don't think he did.
I think somebody else
but
did.
It's still a good soundtrack.
Yeah, it's still a good soundtrack, just not the same musical director.
And
yeah,
13 was done by Masashi Hamauzu.
That guy, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Another really good soundtrack by Uematsu is Chrono Trigger, but we can go into
Trigger's
that later.
fabulous, yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, I'll hand it over to Joey, unless you guys have more to talk about Final Fantasy.
No, I'm good.
I think we squeezed all the juice out of it.
We beat it into the ground.
Time to beat our number 2 into the ground.
Two.
Oh man, this is a series of games that always excites me when we talk about it. Our number 2 is another series, and it's the Persona series, mainly composed by Shoju Meguro. And we're going to be talking about Persona 3 through Persona 5, because that's kind of what the core of what our group has played. And similar, I feel like, where Uematsu is like the more of like a classically trained composer, I feel like Shoji is very modern focused. He still has the right balance of the cinematic and the gameplay skills to form a soundtrack that's really good, and in some cases I think better than Final Fantasies. Specifically in Persona 3, I don't. So that what's also different, I think, about these games, you guys can tell me I'm an idiot if I'm wrong, is I don't think the soundtracks for the Persona 3 games are as lengthy as the Final Fantasy, or of the Persona games. I don't think they're as lengthy as the Final Fantasy games.
No, I think they loop a lot more.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I feel like each one's around 2 to 3 minutes long, probably.
Yeah. And that kind of helps because, well, I think it works because the Persona games are more zone based. Like you're not dealing with open maps.
They're segmented, so there's little vignettes that happen throughout the day, and pretty much the only time you hear something for a long time is when you're walking through a dungeon, which is only a small part of the game.
Right. And I think it's, I would say dungeons are probably where music gets drags a little bit. I actually think Persona 5 is his longest soundtrack in the Persona series, and I can go verify that, but like there's a lot of variations on each of his tracks. Why don't we talk about Persona 5 first? What do you guys think about the intro to the game? And it's kind of, I think the opening track gives you that sense of like, this game's gonna be
jazzy.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of like the first time you watched Cowboy Bebop and the opening came in. I mean, not that epic.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Cowboy Bebop opening is
Cowboy Bebop is like perfect, but it like sets the mood for it, where it's like, oh man, these guys, they're all some suave dudes. They're all gonna get out there. They're gonna mess stuff up. It's gonna be awesome.
Yep.
So,
and I think that's what I think for most people who have played. I think a lot of people have played Persona 5 and maybe not gotten to the other games yet. I think if you notice that jazzy hit and you're like hooked onto that and you like that, then you'll like the other games because it definitely injects a lot of that vibe into the soundtrack. He also has really cool, like we were talking about the game being segmented. You're in different zones. You're not really traveling across a map. You're kind of just going from location to location. He has really good songs for different times of the day and different locations, so that when you hear that song, you automatically envision where you were at that time of in the game.
yeah, that's true. I agree with that.
So like when Beneath the Mask plays, you always think about being in your house as the protagonist. What else?
It's kind of got like a good nighttime vibe too.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you're not only doing stuff at night in that game, but I feel like it's like a nighttime type soundtrack.
That's true, yeah. We already mentioned there's a lot of variations on everything. That like the Final Fantasy games, the Persona series has a lot of good battle themes too.
Yeah, I agree.
And then they have, that extends to the victory theme, of course. Let's talk about Persona 4 now. I think, Courtney, did you play Persona 4 yet?
I have played Persona 4.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
This is the best Persona.
I like Persona 4 more than 5. Yeah, I agree.
I like
the best.
I like Persona 4 more than 5. I don't think it's my favorite Persona. But this game has. When I first talked to this game with you, Matt, I described this game as like almost hippie-like.
It does kind of have that vibe.
It's like 70s. It's like a 70s vibe, like with the colors and kind of the styles, the character designs, and also the music are very it's like groovy. I don't know.
Which that kind of fits the theme because the town that the game takes place in is like a small rural town, which normally rural towns kind of tend to hang behind the fads.
I live in the middle of West Virginia, and I'm still wearing stuff from like the early 2000s. I'm still wearing my trip pants.
She's still in like 1985. She just saw Back to the Future like yesterday.
I did. It was crazy. It blew my mind. I don't even know what I'm working on right now. All this technology is blowing my mind.
But yeah, so like it definitely suits the vibe to it. One other thing that I don't think we've mentioned yet is I feel like Shoji incorporates a lot of vocals into his soundtracks, which I feel like a lot of video games don't do. Even Uematsu, like Final Fantasy, like normally there's one song with vocals, but in Persona, probably like 4 to 5 of the songs I think have vocals in them, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's actually it's pretty awesome of him. He's got some popular artists that join his group and contribute to the soundtrack. Persona 4's soundtrack is, like we were saying, completely different than P5's, but it's definitely still really good. Persona 3, which is my favorite Persona game, has like a very 90s-ish, late 90s, early 2000s-ish musical vibe. A lot of rap in the game, and very much like club type beats.
Yeah, I would say like if you like old Will Smith music, it's probably like that.
That doesn't help. But like cool,
Get jiggy with it.
like cool music.
Hey, Will Smith's cool.
All right, now look who's going back in time here, buddy.
Anyway, but yeah, I think while Uematsu's soundtrack, while the Final Fantasy soundtracks are very fun to listen to, they can get lengthy, and it's just my personal opinion. I'm not saying it's still number 3 on our list.
No, I agree. I only listened to him when I was studying.
Yeah, it's kind of more
like it's not like I was gonna listen to that on the way to, work in the morning or anything.
Right. Whereas I think Persona kind of lends itself more to like having it on just to listen to a casual song here and there from the soundtrack. It also helps that there's like 3 frickin' rhythm games based on each of the soundtracks. So there's a lot of remixes that exist, which in some cases have improved on the songs and made them even more listenable. But that's it. You guys have anything else you want to say about the Persona series?
No.
And its music?
I think you covered it.
Then let's move on to number 1.
Why don't you tell us about our number 1, Matt?
All right. Well, I believe our number 1. This might be controversial based on how big the last couple games we've talked about are, but we chose Nier and Nier Automata as our number 1 soundtrack.
Dun, dun, dun.
Nier was released for the PS3 in April 2010, and Nier Automata released for the PS4 in February 2017, and they were composed mainly by Keiichi Okabe and studio band Monica. One thing I think that's interesting to note is that when Nier came out in 2010, I I feel like it didn't make a big splash. I bought it on release because I'm a weird nerd, but I feel like a lot of people didn't, and a lot of people didn't really get into it until maybe like almost 2014. Like, it might have taken like 3 or 4 years for people to really get the game.
It took that word of mouth time for people to get into it, and they were very disappointed by sales of this game.
Yeah, so but later on the game actually still holds its value because people really like it. And while the combat wasn't the best combat system, it was serviceable, and the music and the theme really struck home in the game. And later on, Nier Automata came out, done by Platinum Games this time, and kind of improved on that combat system and made it a huge hit. But one of the things I always noticed about the game series is the soundtrack. I feel like the soundtrack was always very, very good at setting the mood of the game. It kind of had like a futuristic yet post-apocalyptic thing going on, where the music kind of would help evoke those feelings of like existential dread and things like that, but still kind of be like whimsical and even have vocals in them. What do you guys think?
Are you primarily talking about Nier Automata, or are you talking about Nier?
You know, I think the soundtracks of both games are equally good.
Yeah. Well, can I kind of say something to that?
Yes, you are allowed to speak.
Am I allowed to speak, please?
Yes.
So I think Nier Automata's soundtrack might be done a little bit better in tune with gameplay, because as you're playing, the music heightens, like as you're doing boss battles. And I think they touch on that a little bit in Nier, but I think it's done better in Nier Automata. Like,
I'd agree with
like
that.
at the amusement park, since I don't think the amusement park so far in the game that it would spoil anything. Like, as the boss like sequences into their second form, the music changes, and it's like, you know, it changes to the tone of the battle. And I honestly don't remember original Nier doing that often, except with Emil's like whole thing. I know the music during Emil's parts was really I liked that a lot, but I can't think of too many other parts in the original Nier that had music that kind of elevated the feeling.
Yeah, the original, I don't think it was really dynamic in terms of going with the action. It was just like boss music, overworld music, town music, stuff like that. But I remember the overworld theme, like when you're out in the field, being really good.
You mean for original Nier?
For original
Yeah,
Nier,
I think it was good too, but I actually thought that one song got on my nerves a little bit.
Oh,
when
really?
you're in the field. Yeah, it's really good, but it was loopy.
That was my favorite.
No, it was my
Probably.
favorite in terms of open world areas, but like in that game.
It's probably too much of the same thing. And if you look back on the composer's history, like it's actually, and that's what's cool about us talking about series of games and the composer that did that, is that like you look at the composer Keiichi Okabe, and he did like Tekken 6 before Nier, so like he's definitely not the person you'd imagine doing like a quirky Japanese, you know, adventure game that has open world elements. Like, sure, he's good at looping a battle theme maybe, but like Nier is a big step to move on to that.
For sure. I feel like RPGs are a lot more nuanced in terms of the music and the emotions that are happening and the settings and stuff like that than like a fighting game. Like a fighting game, you can pretty much fit the level you're on and make it aggressive sounding.
Yeah, like each fight is like 2 minutes long, and then you just start the song over again for the next. And so, it's cool to see his progression from Nier to Nier Automata, like Courtney's saying. He made the music more dynamic, and this really is one of the Automatas. I don't have as much experience with Nier, but Automata is so good at making you it's so good. I don't understand how he progressed. I'm completely astonished by how this composer progressed from his start and then all of a sudden made music in Nier Automata, because the songs are so unique. They're so haunting in different spots. I think that's what's astonishing about this soundtrack, is that it's almost too good. You're almost like I don't even want to continue playing. Like, you get to the amusement park, and you're just like, whoa, what? And you put the controller down for a little bit, and you're like, okay, let me hear this song, because this is fucked up.
I really, really like, in the original Nier, Song of the Ancients. That was one song that I could, like, set my controller down and listen, because at the fountain, one of the twins plays and sings music. I'm sure Matt remembers this. And, like, as you would, like, get closer to her, you could hear her sing, but when you walked further away from her, you couldn't hear the vocals. You could just hear the instrumentals. I thought that was kind of cool, and I also really like that song.
That is super cool. Mm-hmm. But it's almost too good. It's almost distracting. It almost breaks you out.
Sometimes.
Yeah, it almost breaks you out, and you're like, oh, right, I'm playing a video game. Like, what is this music? But it's really good. The song Pascal from Automata is also really good. Mm-hmm. Something about, like, being in this village of robots and hearing, like, these children sing is just, it's crazy.
It is. It's all really good.
Agreed. So that is our top 5 video game soundtracks.
Yes, and they're all very good.
Yeah, I mean, if you all of these games are very easily accessible with, well, nope, Katamari's even on Switch now, so, I mean, everything is on
current
Nier
consoles.
1 might be a little hard to track down.
Mm-hmm. That might be the only one, though. And maybe Persona 3?
Yeah, you could get it on Vita through the PSP
that's right, yeah.
store, but yeah, Nier's probably the hardest. But I mean, if you just check out Nier Automata, to be honest, I think you'll be fine.
You should play Nier too. It's good.
You should.
What are some what do you call them? I could never think of the phrase. What are some
honorable mentions?
Honorable mentions. Okay. What are some honorable mentions, Courtney?
Well, I definitely have to put out there Elder Scrolls. Elder Scrolls as a whole, but I had put Skyrim, just because that's a lot of people's introduction into the Elder Scrolls series. But you want to talk about, like, a super awesome soundtrack and crazy vocals. Like, it's always super intense.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
I not get points for not being, like, completely original, but it is really good.
What do you mean not completely original? Back that up.
It's like, you know, just someone else's style, kind of.
It didn't impress Joey.
It did not impress. Just the way he was like, I'm gonna knock it.
He was like, they totally ripped that off.
Well, it does.
I've heard
All right,
this.
Joey, sorry.
No, it's still really good.
Mm-hmm.
It you know, I don't know. Also, like, you invest so much time in the game that I didn't stick with the soundtrack as much. I ended up listening to something else.
Oh.
I agree. I feel like it's kind of like generic.
I'm so outnumbered. No.
No, it's like,
I mean,
if you're gonna listen to a fantasy soundtrack, like a game soundtrack, like, that's what you want to hear. And it has that good way of, like, every time you found a new shout of, like, getting intense, you know?
I don't know. You guys knocking it really buzzkilled me.
You know what? I think the only thing that gets it is I feel like, I'm like, is this cultural appropriation?
What?
Oh my God.
Because it's so like Norse-ish.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Is it?
No, I don't know. But yeah, it's like, maybe I'm just being, and I don't know. I don't know why I'm complaining. It's really good. I agree with you on Skyrim.
And can I throw my other honorable mention in real quick?
Do it.
Just because it's really good. Doom. The Doom soundtrack. The Doom
is
soundtrack.
Is it just metal?
You haven't heard the Doom soundtrack? The remake?
First-person shooter.
Oh, that's right. You don't do those. Oh my god,
It's
Joey.
mainly metal.
It's all metal.
Yeah.
It's just...
There's like backmasking on it and everything.
It's so good. It's so
That's
good.
awesome.
Please listen to the Doom soundtrack, even if you don't play Doom. Just do it. Do yourself a favor.
I will. I'll do it.
Thank you.
What about you, Matt?
So one game we didn't really talk about this, but it is Final Fantasy. It's not Nobuo Uematsu, but Final Fantasy X2 had a lot of like pop type songs in it because Yuna randomly became a pop star in that game.
Which was awesome.
And yeah, I remember in high school I had those all on my iPod, and I would listen to them like 1,000 words, and I can't remember the name of the other one, but they were really good. So if you want some generic pop songs that sound good, Final Fantasy X-2. Another game that I really like the soundtrack to is Transistor. This is a game that I've played. I haven't beaten it. I like the game, and I think it's a really good game, but it doesn't suck me in that much. However, the soundtrack, I find myself, sometimes I'll just like dial it up on Spotify and listen to it on my way to work because it's just so good.
Nice.
But yeah.
Awesome. For my honorable mention, I think it would probably have to be another series. I think it's the original Super Mario series, like Super Mario Bros. And Super Mario World. Just because they did everything, like they wouldn't, there's no use of like, nobody popped on the screen and was like, oh, you're running out of time in this level. Let me move back. Super Mario games are all level based, and the music does a really good job of like telling you what kind of level you're in. Music changes when you go to the underworld. The music's different when you get a superstar. And then when you're running low on time, the music informs you by speeding up and freaking you out. So that played a big part in my childhood. Which they should put all these soundtracks out, like easily accessible.
Yeah, I agree. And also, like, if you hum the first few bars of Super Mario, like the theme, like anyone in the world will probably know what it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big deal. That's like, when people just see the Nike symbol on a black page and they automatically know, oh, Nike, they make shoes. Like, you've made it when you can just do something that simple and everyone recognizes it.
Truth.
You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, and online at geekenvy.podbean.com. We're on Instagram and Twitter at Geek Envy, and we would love to hear your comments, suggestions, questions, and etc. Just shoot us an email at askgeekenvy@gmail.com. Thank you guys for listening.